And right now we are pleased to be joined by Ernie Lawson, the defensive line coach for San Diego State. And, Coach, thank you so much for your time. John Schaefer and Mike Costa with you. And let's start with last weekend against Stanford, and let's start with what you saw. When you look back at the film, what'd you like in terms of what you were able to do defensively with your front three, and where is there obviously some room for improvement moving forward as well?
I think the biggest thing that was a positive for our guys is our guys came out with the right intensity. Our effort was what it needed to be, and the physicality that we tried to play with, that we tried to have a standard for. I thought we did that well this past weekend, but just like I told them, we met already is that, from last week, the thing we got to do better on is we got to get more heat on the quarterback. KJ Costello was very comfortable back there all night, and that's on us. We got to get a lot more heat on them. Can't let quarterbacks be that comfortable in a game, and that is solely on us.
Coach, how do you get them to translate what you just told us you told them to making it happen on the field? Is it a slight adjustment here? Does it come down to maybe better technique on a play? Is it a very finite sample, the difference between not getting to the quarterback and getting to him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, it's all technique, I think, is the biggest thing. And what we stress with our guys after the meeting with them and watching film as well is just about becoming technicians about everything that we do. Because, again, just one simple hand placement here or timing of our hands in terms of throwing our moves, our pad level and stuff like that can make the difference between getting to them, getting run by, difference between hitting them or getting a sack. So it's all, for the most part, it's really all about technique improvement for us as a unit.
Again, Aztecs defensive line coach Ernie Lawson joining us here. Schaefer and Costa in for the herd. And, Coach, if I would have told you Bryce Love would have had 18 carries for 29 yards, I mean, you'd probably be running around in circles, right? I mean, what did you do defensively to bottle him up, not just for a quarter or a half, but for the entire game?
Well, one, Coach Long came up with a great game plan with that we were able to get the kids to understand and execute. And so that was number one, Coach coming up with a great game plan. But two, just, again, the kids understanding what their jobs were and going out and executing and playing as hard as we can. I mean, those are really the big things. And the only way that you can contain someone like that is if those things happen. And they were able to happen, in that regard. We just got to put everything together this Saturday.
Coach, is there any chance this week you take Noble Hall over to the running backs for a period of time and maybe teach them a little bit about ball security?
Yeah, that's poor coaching on me. Again, it's something that even you're not ever going to drill it, but at least should be talked about in case something like that does happen. So it was a bang play. Again, a huge play in the game, a huge momentum shift for the game because if we, keep the ball from there and all that, we run out the clock, we're still up at half. Instead, they make a great effort play, get the ball back, they score right before half, and it's a different game. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we've addressed.
Yeah, well, and I don't mean to paint Noble into a bad light. I mean, he's out there busting his ass trying to do everything he can, and I'd love to see a lot of us in the same position hold on to the ball. Yeah,
that's what again, it's just something that, he made a great play. It was an unfortunate deal. We used it as a thing to learn from for us in the room, and so that's how we'll treat it. And then, when we get our hands on another one, we're going to be much better about not letting that happen again.
Coach, how did you think he played overall in the middle, right? Because you moved him from end back to tackle. How did he play in the middle of that line?
I thought he played his best game since I've been here. On Saturday. I think his effort, and the biggest thing was his effort was consistent the whole time. He played as hard as he's ever played. So I was very pleased with that. His intensity was great the whole time. Emotionally, he was under control the whole time. I thought he played really well. Obviously, he wasn't perfect. There's definitely stuff he could have did better. But, for the most part, I was very pleased with how he played.
Ernie Lawson, defensive line coach for the Aztecs, with us here on Xtra 1360. Coach, there's a couple of times where he unfortunately got flagged for illegal hands to the face, and he's bull rushing the guy. And again, is that just simply a matter of saying, Noble, just keep your hands a little lower than your head next time?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's something that enforcing practice habits too. It's something that can be corrected in practice to make sure that you never do it in practice as well, so it doesn't carry over in the game the way you can get flagged like that as well. Again, we addressed it, and it wasn't malicious, it wasn't intentional. Just have to be better about it.
What do you see on film from Sac State, your opponent Saturday? Where will you guys need to be very good on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think, I think they're well coached, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Sears and his staff have done a great job. They're coming off their best season, I believe, possibly ever for program history last year. And personnel-wise, they have very good personnel. I mean, their skill players are very good, and they do a good job up front of trying to get after it. And their running backs are very good. And their receivers are very good and make a run. It's a very, they're a good football team. That's what you see on film when you look at them.
Coach, what was the defensive line room like once you guys got back together after the Stanford game? What was the mood like?
I think they were disappointed. I think all of us know that, we were good enough to beat them. And,
sure.
But there's stuff that we have to do better in order to make that happen. So I think they were disappointed, but I think we're ready to, and they're ready to get back out there and improve from Saturday. I think that's the biggest feeling from when we got back together.
We talked a little bit about some of the penalties, but overall 11 penalties against San Diego State, 125 yards. What do you do? It's one thing to say we need to play cleaner football or we need to eliminate penalties. How do you execute that type of game plan? How do you stay, more disciplined in that manner?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is a lot of that stuff is all habits. And again, it all starts back with practice, as corny and as coach speak as that sounds, but it's all practice. If you play dirty in practice or you have lazy habits that force you to do stuff in practice, they're going to show up on game day. So you get that stuff cleaned up Monday with all the way through the lead up to Saturday. That's how you clean up penalties and play like that.
Coach, thanks so much for taking some time. Best of luck preparing for Sac State this weekend, and thanks for taking some time here on Labor Day.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you guys, man. I hope you guys have a great day.
You too, Coach. Thank you.